Hello YouTube, how's everyone doing? It's Professional here. So today I want to do an honest discussion video. I haven't done one of these in a few months. How I did these was I made a poll about a controversial topic on GTA, and then I waited about 1 to 2 weeks and I would reply directly to people's comments on a video, and I would be respectful to them, no matter their view. This topic was the Oppressor Mark 2. You may have voted in my poll a few weeks ago. A few weeks ago we had a good discussion on the stream about the Oppressor Mark 2. One of the topics brought up was the homing launcher Mark II. I talked about the homing launcher Mark II a few months ago in my video titled Top 5 Best Gadgets and Gears Added. And I said that before the explosive sniper came out, jets, they were really overpowered. They ruled lobbies. You had very few ways to take down jets. When explosive rounds were added, that was the counter. 2 shots and a jet would go down. We don't have anything like that against Mark IIs. This thing is helpful for grinding, and this is one of the few rare moments you'll see me using it, even though I don't use it myself. I will admit that it's good for grinding. It's good for getting around the map. That's not deniable, but there's also the griefing aspect. So you as the viewer decide whether the good outweighs the bad. And whether you love the Oppressor Mark II or you hate the Oppressor Mark II, there's no denying that this vehicle has changed GTA Online forever. That's pretty much a fact. So the poll I made a few weeks ago got 46,000 views. My friend Gillymaster made a poll as well asking about the homing launcher Mark II. I will link his video down below if you guys want to check out his thoughts on it. So in my poll, I asked people what should be done about it. I gave as many options as I could, and I even had one where nothing should be done because I know some people think it's perfectly fine. So out of all the people that voted, 23% think that it should be removed entirely from the game, 8% think nothing should be done about it, it's fine the way it is, 19% think its spawn time should be changed, make a spawn cooldown on it, and 45%, the most popular vote, had add a vehicle weapon counter, new rocket launcher to destroy it. And we had 6% for other. So, there's a lot of people out there that they say that the majority of people don't think anything should be done about the Oppressor Mark II. I've argued with some people and they told me, oh, the majority of people think the Oppressor Mark II is fine the way it is. You can show them this poll next time you hear somebody say that. Only 8% of people think nothing should be done about it. So the vast majority of people think that something should be done about it. But the question is what? This is encouraging a discussion, and I hope more YouTubers talk about these ideas, even if it doesn't do anything, because at least we tried. The best way to reach Rockstar is their feedback page. I don't normally tell people to share my videos, but share this one of Rockstar on their feedback page if you agree with me. The more people see it, the more chance Rockstar will as well. So here we go. I'm going to read 10 comments. I tried to pick the most unique ones, and I chose ones from all opinions. All I ask is people be respectful to others, because this is such a controversial topic. Everyone has a different opinion. The moment you start insulting someone and calling them stupid, you pretty much lost the argument, and it hurts your points. So sorry again for the length of the video, guys, but I had a lot of comments that I wanted to go through. So now, let's get started. I will be fair to everyone. So our first comment is from Sebastian Lopez, and he had 76 likes, and he says, I don't agree with removal of it. It's helpful travel times. I replied back to him a week ago and I said, there is no denying that it is helpful, but there is also no denying it has caused many problems. If you could please edit your comment and tell me what you think should be done about it. He didn't edit his comment and I wasn't able to find another one of his comments if he said something else. But like I said, and I've said this before, I don't use the Oppressor Mark II personally, but I don't deny that it's effective for getting around the map. It's one of the best ways in the game to get around the map. It's very helpful for grinding, very helpful for getting around the map. However, though, you can't deny also the bad, because a lot of people in this game, they look at the good of the Oppressor Mark II, they go like, oh, it's helpful travel times, it's helpful for grinding, it's helpful for missions, helpful for all of this stuff. That's not deniable. But they don't tend to talk about all the bad things, like the griefing, the fact that people can constantly spawn it, they can passive pop with it, use ghost organization, so easy to spawn it with the MC menu, and just, there's not really any counters to it. Very, very few ways to deal with it. So, while I'm not denying that it's helpful for grinding, you also gotta admit to the bad things that comes with it. Moving on, our next comment is from Shadow Demon, and Shadow Demon is one of my friends, and he says, they won't remove the bike from the game. I think it's a little too late for that. Adding a new vehicle counter is just pointless. Then we would have to deal with that vehicle. The only logical thing they could do is implement a cooldown for the Mark II. It would severely reduce the Mark II spam. It's funny how there is a cooldown for normal supercars, but not for an overpowered flying bike. And I replied back saying, I agree 100%, I would prefer it being removed, but it's an unrealistic expectation. There needs to be some kind of cooldown on this thing. It's ridiculous that I have to wait 5 minutes for my Savage to spawn, and I have to drive over to it, but the Mark II has no cooldown, and you can just spawn it right in front of you. And, Shadow Demon is right on this. I agree with him, because a lot of people I've noticed they've said, oh, Rockstar should add a new weaponized vehicle to counter the Oppressor Mark II. I've noticed a few people commenting that. And I think personally, my opinion, I think that would be a terrible idea. And the reason it would be a terrible idea will break the game even more. The reason it would is because think about it this way. If the Oppressor Mark II is already this overpowered, very few counters to destroy it, and it's just blowing everybody up in lobbies, and then you add a new vehicle that can blow up the Oppressor Mark II easily, how overpowered is that vehicle going to be? That vehicle is going to be the new griefing vehicle that everybody is using. So adding a new vehicle that counter the Oppressor Mark II is not going to help. It's just going to add fuel to the fire. Next, we have a comment from Pyrotechnic81. I tried to find a comment that didn't have a lot of likes that was kind of buried in there that stood out. And I found Pyro's comment, and Pyro said, I didn't pick anything else because the Mark II has a few counters as is right now. I would just like to see balance of everything else because it stays around the top of the food chain. You know, I disagree with you, Pyrotechnic. I don't know what you mean. If you could explain that, if you post on this video and I see your comment, I'll reply to you. But I don't understand what you mean that it stays around the top of the food chain, because the Oppressor Mark II, pretty powerful. There's not really many counters to it, and I would ask you what those counters were, because I made a video a few weeks ago titled Top 5 Best Ways to Fight Back Against Oppressor Mark II Griefers, and in that video I said, you know, these are 5 ways that you can fight back against the Oppressor Mark IIs, but they're not real counters, because the Oppressor Mark II will still have somewhat of an advantage over you. And you know, the Ruiner 2000, a lot of people say that the fully loaded Ruiner is the counter. Not really a counter because you can only use it for 20 minutes, so it's a temporary solution. There's not really any counters to the Oppressor Mark II. I mean, you think about it, that's the problem with it. There's not really that many ways to fight back against it. Moving on, next up here is Tyreek Malik, and please be respectful to him, guys, and be respectful to everyone, no matter what your opinion is. But Tyreek here says, why is everyone hating on the Oppressor Mark II? It's the best vehicle for getting around the map in my opinion, and it can be countered easily by another Oppressor Mark II. If the user knows what they're doing, it's fine the way it is to me. And I replied back to him saying, Jimmy, using an Oppressor Mark II to destroy an Oppressor Mark II, it's not a counter. When you use the same thing to stop the same thing, it's not a counter. It needs to be something different. And also, not everyone is hating. I don't like it personally, but I admit to how helpful it can be for getting around the map and for missions. However, you cannot point to all the good and ignore all the bad, griefing. The question is, does it do more harm or good? That is the big question. The Oppressor Mark II does do good. It helps people get around the map. It's helpful for grinding. But it also does a lot of bad with the griefing and people constantly abusing it in PvP. You know, that's for you guys as the viewer to decide. Does it do more bad or does it do more good? But also, I would say, you know, not everyone is hating on the Oppressor Mark II. You know, I'm not a fan of it. I don't like it personally, Tyreek, but I admit how helpful it is for getting around the map. I will concede to that. I will admit to that. And also, if everybody was hating on the Oppressor Mark II, they would have voted for it overwhelmingly to be removed from the game. But that's not what everybody voted for. Everybody voted that there needs to be something done, preferably a new weapon, some kind of new rocket launcher, but the majority of people did not vote for it to be removed. So for saying that everybody's hating on it, not true though there, Tyreek. Next up, we have stuck with this name for 90 days, and he says 2-minute cooldown time seems reasonable. I doubt Rockstar will change this since it doesn't affect shark card sales, but it's worth a shot. I said I think a 2-minute cooldown, while it's somewhat a good idea, it's too short. I mean, 2 minutes later, you would have to deal with another one. I was thinking something more like 10 minutes so that people would be more cautious using it, and not spam it. I think that a cooldown would definitely be a step in the right direction for the Oppressor Mark II, because like I said earlier, a few comments ago, why is it that when my helicopter or my plane gets destroyed right away, I have to wait 5 minutes? I have to wait 5 minutes, and then I gotta go all the way to it. I gotta drive somewhere, get to that helicopter, get to that plane. But for the Oppressor Mark II, it gets blown up, you can just call Mars Mutual, and you can just spawn it right away with the interaction menu. How is that fair? That is not fair. So I definitely think that there needs to be some kind of cooldown on this thing. And 2 minutes, I don't think that's personally enough. Because think about it this way. Somebody attacks you with the Oppressor Mark II. It's really annoying. They're spamming missiles. You finally blow them up. It was a big fight. You finally get them. You finally blow them up. And then, guess what? They are spawning it again 2 minutes later. So you only gave yourself 2 minutes of breathing time. If you make it where it's 10 minutes, somebody gets blown up, you know, they have to wait 10 minutes. That's more of a reasonable time. It's not super long either, but it's not super short. If somebody has a 10-minute cooldown on the Oppressor Mark II, they're going to be more cautious with it, and they're not going to be so reckless with it, and they'll be more careful. And I guess it'll take more skill to use if it's a 10-minute cooldown, because people will actually know when to attack with it and when to defend. Here is a pretty long comment, but it's a good one, and this is the one that most people voted for when they voted for some kind of new weapon to fight back against the Oppressor Mark II, and this is what a lot of people have been talking about, a homing launcher Mark II. So here's what RGV Gunner said. Here's my idea. Please read it fully. Add a Mark II variant of the homing launcher with deluxe missiles. I'm assuming you mean deluxo missiles. Thing is, the missiles are extremely sensitive and attracted to heat, meaning if you use the Mark II homing launcher and you lock onto a player driving a regular car, helicopter, or even a plane, the missiles will lock on and shoot like normal, but while in mid-flight, they'll lock onto anything that has heat, buildings, other NPCs, cars, and even the road. This is because regular cars and such don't possess enough heat for the missiles to keep track of the target you shot at. However, the Oppressor Mark II is literally a flying jet engine that should produce more heat than anything else around it, which means the missiles should lock on and follow them relentlessly and hit them 9 times out of 10. Unless they use flares or even bail out, even then, you can just shoot another Mark II homing missile or snipe them as they fall. Just a little idea. Keep up the great work. Thank you for the comment there, RGV Gunner. I agree with what you're saying there. You said that there'll be a homing launcher Mark II that will not be able to lock onto anything else except the Mark II, and that'll be because of heat. I don't think that Rockstar, if they did add something like that, would go so technical that it wouldn't lock onto those vehicles because of heat. But, a specific weapon that's designed to shoot down Oppressor Mark IIs, I would be for that. I think the homing launcher Mark II would be a good idea. I said that back then in my video like months ago where I did the top 5 best gadgets and gears, and I said how the explosive sniper is the counter to the jets, because before the explosive sniper was added, jets ruled lobbies. Remember how annoying jets were before gun running? It was so annoying, people would spam the explosive cannons, there'd be so many jets flying in each lobby, but then they added the explosive sniper, you could just shoot them 2 times, they're done, jets will explode. Even if you hit them once, it'll pretty much disable the jet. So the explosive sniper pretty much balanced out jets. Jets are not overpowered anymore because of the explosive sniper. If we had a weapon like the homing launcher Mark II to fight back against the Oppressor Mark II, yeah, I think that might be the counter to it. I know a lot of people that use the Mark II would be complaining about that, but this would be strictly for defensive purposes. If you're going around, you're using it for grinding, you're not going near players, you're not fighting players, I don't think you really have much to worry about. I'm sure there would be griefers that would pull it out and shoot down people flying on Oppressor Mark IIs just minding their own business, but I do think that it would be better for the long run. I do think it would balance it out. That's a good comment there, RGV Gunner. Thank you for commenting. At comment number 7, we have Luke Joseph, and he says, let's face the facts, Rockstar will never remove it, but one simple counter is not letting it be considered a motorcycle and giving a 10-minute cooldown from the Terabyte. If you add a new missile launcher, it will most likely make helicopters pointless. I also replied to him about a week ago, and I said, you could argue that helicopters are pointless right now because of the Oppressor Mark II. If the launcher is a slow rate of fire and can only lock onto air vehicles, I do not think it would be nowhere near as overpowered as the Oppressor Mark II. So we already covered the cooldown part of his comment in a previous comment that we've talked to another person there. But, what interested me here is when he talked about the fact that it shouldn't be considered a motorcycle. He's right on that. How is the Oppressor Mark II considered a motorcycle? I don't understand that. And the fact that it's spawned from the Motorcycle Club menu, I didn't think they would let you spawn it from the Motorcycle Club menu when it was first coming out, but that happened. I don't think they're going to take it out of the game. I think it's unrealistic, and I don't think they're going to take it away from the MC menu. I can't picture that either. And in regards to Luke's comment on the homing launcher, he says that it will most likely make helicopters pointless. But what about this, Luke? What if the launcher can only lock onto the Oppressor Mark II, like the guy said before? Would you be for it then, Luke? And, I would take that launcher. Even if the launcher could lock on the air vehicles, I'd still rather have that in the game because at least I would have some way of defending myself on foot from the Oppressor Mark II. Right now, I don't really have any way to defend myself. And when you say that helicopters are pointless, I could give you a perfectly good argument saying that helicopters right now are pointless. If I fly any type of helicopter in this game, I try to fly in a lobby, I mind my own business, and Oppressor Mark II comes at me, I'm almost 9 times out of 10 going to die because the missiles on the Oppressor Mark II are so accurate, and it's so hard to dodge them, and the Oppressor Mark II is such a small target, making it so hard for helicopters to shoot them down. So you could put forth another argument saying that helicopters right now, they're pretty pointless. At comment number 8, we have Jay Rocha, and he says the Mark II needs to be manual aim, not auto aim. Less people would use it as a tool for griefing if it were more difficult to hit a target. In general, the game promotes the killing of other players and destroying of their property and or supplies. This needs to change. And Jay Rocha's comment here is very unique. I didn't really see any other people post a similar comment to his, but he's arguing something completely different. He says, why don't we make it so that people can't lock on to other people with the Oppressor Mark II? They actually have to manually aim. You know, that would be interesting. Imagine if they actually had to manually aim, because the Oppressor Mark II doesn't really take much skill to use. Anybody can get on it. They can just lock on to other people in air vehicles, ground vehicles, and just blow them up. There are griefers who do use the Oppressor Mark II to hit people on the ground, but they've had a lot of practice with that. Imagine if they actually have to use it to hit people also manually, even if they're in a vehicle. If they're in an air vehicle, it's going to be really hard for the Oppressor Mark II griefers to hit somebody in the air. And I know I'm going to have some people in the comments saying, but what if I use the Oppressor Mark II to lock on in missions? Well, what about this? What if we make it so that the Oppressor Mark II can only lock on to hostile NPCs, but cannot lock on to players? What about that then? It would still be useful in missions, so people could still use it in missions, but they could not use it to grief. And you wouldn't need an Oppressor Mark II to fight back against an Oppressor Mark II if they can't lock onto you. So it would actually take a lot more skill and it'd be a lot harder for them to kill you. At comment number 9, we have Nick Valentine, and he says, as a jet pilot, I find it incredibly frustrating to fight people using an oppressor, as it takes all the fun, skill, and sportsmanship out of dogfighting. People who use an oppressor have their ego inflated because they think they're good at PvP because they're using a broken vehicle. Nerf the oppressor or make a counter for it, but not a counter to replace it. He brings up a good point. Just like I said earlier, don't have a counter that can be abused. Have something that will fight back against the Oppressor Mark II, that will cancel it out, but not something that people can go and grief with that new counter. And he raises a great point. He says he's a jet pilot here. I've dogfighted Oppressor Mark IIs with jets. It's kind of annoying. I'm flying around in circles, dodging missiles, constantly trying to spam at them. They could just activate easy way out, and they'll just spawn another one. It can get annoying. And years ago, we had jets in this game. When GT Online first came out, we had the laser. That was the first jet that we had. It came with the default game. I never thought that I would see this game years later where we would be dogfighting flying futuristic motorcycles that can easily be spawned with the MC menu. At least back then, you had to go to Fort Zancudo and steal a laser, but today, you can just spawn this motorcycle from the MC menu, go and grief people with it. It has really good missiles, you can even shoot down jets with it, and then it gets blown up, you call in Morse Mutual, and you could spawn it right again, no penalties. And last but not least, from Madly Hi-Ho, he says every futuristic vehicle should be removed from the game. And I said, I'm not a fan of them either. I like GTA when it's about crime, not futuristic military stuff. I agree with you, however, this is unlikely to ever happen. We can only hope the next GTA will not have any futuristic stuff. And the reason that I wanted to make this comment last here is because I thought about this comment the most. This comment, gave me a lot of thoughts. And the griefing with the Oppressor Mark II, that's not the worst part for me. That's the second worst part. What is the worst part for me with the Oppressor Mark II? It's the fact that it's changed GTA Online forever. I don't feel like GTA Online is the same game that we had years ago. Think about it this way. The Oppressor Mark II, it definitely helps. It makes grinding easier, it makes getting around the map easier, it makes doing jobs easier, but think about it this way also. When is the last time you were driving a car across the map? When is the last time you're using a helicopter? When is the last time you're going to need any of these other vehicles? You don't use these other vehicles as often as the Oppressor Mark II, because the Oppressor Mark II makes everything so much easier. You can just spawn off your MC menu and just fly anywhere. You don't need to go to a helipad or to get a jet, and if you spawn a car, the car doesn't really have any missiles or anything like that, well, at least most cars don't have missiles, and you gotta drive it across the map on the highway. It takes the fun out of using every single other vehicle in the game. You don't feel like using any other vehicle in the game, and it changes the game that much. I understand it was harder back in the day, it was harder to make money, but I miss the old days, when we actually had to drive cars across the map, or if we actually used a buzzer to fly across the map. And then in those rare instances when we got a plane, we flew across the map. But now, people don't use planes as often anymore. They don't even use cars as often anymore. I see people on these Oppressor Mark IIs so much, and it's also hurting the criminal aspect of GTA Online. I don't expect anything to change. I don't think that they're going to remove any of these futuristic vehicles, but even though I use the regular oppressor, I don't think that should have even been added in the first place. I would, if the regular oppressor got taken out of the game as well, even though I use it a lot, I would be fine with it. That's my opinion. Feel free to disagree with me, but that's just where I stand. I think that GTA Online is the strongest when it's about crime, when it's about the criminal element. You feel like a gangster, you're a bank robber, you're a drug dealer, whatever. But, when they add all these futuristic vehicles into the game, I feel like the game is becoming something else. I feel like it's becoming some kind of different game, like it's becoming another Saints Row game. So that's my opinion there, guys. Let me know what you think down below. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this. Any comments, questions, or concerns down below, I will reply to as many people as I can. And again, guys, you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to disagree with me, whatever. Just please be respectful to everyone, because I know a lot of people have different opinions on this. Just be respectful to everyone, no matter what their opinion is. Let's have a normal discussion about this. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, everyone.